Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're joining us live, today is April 6th, 2024, and yesterday was our OCNDS Awareness Day, an international global event. It was so inspiring to see all the places of interest lit up in blue and green, and families wearing blue and green around the globe, and even people lighting up their homes. Well done by our parent advisory board and those other families who secured proclamations and also secured a lot of these monuments. And I can't thank everyone enough for sharing our posts and just making this an incredibly successful day. I always say, with awareness comes acceptance, comes hope. Um, and I think that we could be filled with a lot of hope today. For those that don't know me, I'm the founder and president of the CSNK2A1 Foundation. We launched this foundation in 2018 to find a cure for Oker-Chung neurodevelopmental syndrome and to ensure affected individuals have the opportunities and supports necessary to live happy and full lives. We are excited for the lineup that we have today for our virtual family symposium. Some of you may be wondering why we're virtual and not in person. And I just want to let you know and set the expectation that we probably will only have um, uh, in-person events every 2 to 3 years. One, science unfortunately is incredibly slow, and we want to make sure that the vital resources that are both our families and the foundation uses to have these in-person events are well used. So in the interim years, we'll make sure that we come to you with a virtual symposium so you're still kept up to date what's going on. We did create a regional ambassador program, and we're hoping that the regional ambassadors will host annual events in regional areas where families can actually get together and be in person, because there is nothing that can substitute an in-person meeting. A few housekeeping items for today. Our Q&A will not be following this live symposium. Instead, it will be on May 4th. You can find a link to the Q&A on our website and also on social media. We wanted to give families an opportunity to digest what they hear today because it's a lot. And for those who cannot join, to watch these videos on YouTube with caption translation. They will be translated into all the OCNDS languages. So if you're not able to attend the Q&A live, please send us your questions. You can send them to me at Jennifer@CSNK2A1 foundation.org. You can submit them on our website or on our Facebook page, and we'll make sure that they get answered. I wanted to start with just like a quick tip. I know today I'm supposed to be giving a foundation update, and normally we go into this sort of lengthy discussion on all the aspects of the foundation and what we have to offer. But honestly, we've done that in years past, and so if you're interested in that, we can show you a video from back then. So today is really just to kind of talk about where we started and where we are today as a foundation. But as a quick tip, we find this a lot, that when you're receiving a diagnosis, an OCNDS diagnosis particularly, it can be daunting and overwhelming. You're sitting in a geneticist's office, if you're even lucky to see a geneticist, and you're receiving this news. You hear OCNDS, CSNK2A1, life altering, lifelong syndrome, and we almost don't hear anything else. And we're trying to scribble down like all these notes, trying to figure out, how do you spell Oker-Chung? Is that with a C? Is that with a K? Is that a hyphen or not? And just so to leave you with just a little bit of knowledge today, if you didn't have it before, because it can be kind of confusing, is OCNDS is the syndrome that occurs when there is a mutation on the CSNK2A1 gene. And so they're both mouthfuls, but if you leave here today knowing the difference between the two, I'll feel like this is a success. I think most of us know, but those who are joining who don't know much about OCNDS, OCNDS manifests with symptoms ranging from inability to speak or severe speech delay, global developmental delay, autism spectrum traits, cognitive impairment, hypotonia, which is low muscle tone, autism spectrum traits, to cognitive impairment, feeding difficulties. And these symptoms can vary in degree of severity. People are affected from mild to severe, but they do impact daily life. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Jules, who's now 15, I used to think about the life that she would have and what her life would be like. I would think about the college she would go to and the career she would have, the sleepovers, the friends, and just really the robust life she would have. And little did I know at the time that seemingly healthy babies at birth can have genetic conditions lurking in their genes. And OCNDS was first described by Dr. Chung and Dr. Oker in 2016. And shortly after that, my daughter, Jules, was the sixth in the world to be diagnosed with OCNDS. And like many of you, it took us 7 years to land on a diagnosis. And at that time, there was no foundation, no website, no information, no community. There was no interest in OCNDS research, and there was no funding for OCNDS research. And I remember as I sat down to read the first publication about OCNDS, I thought, how hard can this be? I was an English major in college. I've read tons of complicated manuscripts, and I could see that there were words in a line that made sentences with periods at the end, but I had no idea what this paper was saying. I had no idea really what my little girl had. I had to look up every other word. And at that time, I knew we had to do better. In 2018, we launched the CSNK2A1 Foundation to ensure no family would ever be alone when they received a diagnosis, that there would be information available to help them easily understand their diagnosis. And in addition, we launched this foundation because after speaking to academics and researchers, it became abundantly clear that a treatment for OCNDS was possible. I want to share some highlights with you since we launched in 2018. At our first conference, oh, sorry, I forgot that I had slides going. This is some of our kids from our amazing community. But I wanted to share some highlights with you since 2018. Besides Dr. Chung and Dr. Oker attending our first in-person conference, we only had one researcher in attendance, Dr. Heike Riepoltz, who still researches OCNDS still to this day. We now have committed over $1 million to OCNDS research with a robust quarterly research roundtable with over 24 researchers from 11 institutions present at each meeting. In our inaugural fundraising efforts, we yielded $96,000. We were run on the blood, sweat, and tears of our volunteers. And from these modest beginnings, the prospect of hiring a full-time science program director seemed far-fetched. However, the need for a visionary leader to steer our research program became abundantly clear. Last April, almost 1 year ago, Dr. Gabrielle Rushing joined us as our science program director. And in her first year, she has already left an indelible mark on our community and on the research efforts we have ongoing. And she has propelled us closer to our goal. When we started, there were no OCNDS animal or cell models, which are the cornerstone of our research program. We have built a robust research toolbox to make it easy for any researcher around the world to study OCNDS. Dr. Chung calls it our OCNDS zoo. Just quickly, the reason why we'd have to build this in order for researchers to understand OCNDS better is that you'll hear Dr. Chung say, and maybe even Dr. Rushing, that we aren't going to harvest brain tissue from live OCNDS children or families. And so we need to create a model in which we can study OCNDS and really learn more about what is happening in the body when someone has OCNDS. And so building this toolbox has been incredibly important. And we're very hopeful that all these dollars that we've actually deployed in the last 6 years will yield tangible results that will kind of really steer our program for years to come. We have 3 mouse models that mimic our variants in our patients, and our toolbox also includes zebrafish, so amazing, right? Tadpoles, flies, and 9 iPSC cell lines derived from patient blood samples. And I'm not going to go into those. Dr. Rushing is the expert, and she did a webinar in December of 2023 that explains those in great details. And we also have patient fibroblasts, and these are being shared across institutions and being studied as we speak. In 2018, we had no industry partnerships. We have now partnered with one biotech company in Boston called Unravel Biosciences. And in 2018, we knew of 60 patients worldwide, and we now have 200 and now of today, we have over 240. when we did our awareness facts, it was at the end of Q1 of 2024. So we're now over 240 registered with the foundation, speaking 22 languages from 37 countries. And we are proud to say that translating materials, key materials, into all languages spoken by OCNDS families is a priority of ours. And we have translated several key resources for families into all of these 22 languages. In 2018, we also didn't have a parent advisory board, and we now have 12 dedicated parents, 2 of which are presenting today, who host bi-monthly family calls, webinars, and they create resources to help our families on these OCNDS journeys. In addition, in 2018, we had no strategic partnerships. And here now, 6 years later, we have 22 that are helping us reach our goals. This is one of the most exciting facts to me, to be honest, is that in 2018, we had no family Zoom calls. And now in 2024, we have hosted over 43 family Zoom calls. 43, that's a lot, where families have connected and shared information over the years. During that time, we partnered with a company called Wordly, who helps us do live caption translation. And so we really hope that more families from around the globe get the courage to join. I know that it can be difficult with the technology, but it does work. And it really is amazing when we've had families that speak French, also Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese, jump on these calls. It's incredibly inspiring. So these are just a few highlights from the past few years. We have many, many more, and there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done, and we cannot do it without your help and your participation. Every year we choose a theme. This year it is in unity. Only together can we forge a path toward a future where OCNDS is better understood, support is more accessible, and ultimately lives are improved. Everyone must do one thing. No act is too small to move the needle. But the most impactful thing that you can do is participating regularly in our natural history study with Simon Searchlight. OCNDS families can make a difference today by signing up for the CSNK2A1 Simon Searchlight Natural History Study. Simon Searchlight is a long-term natural history study that gathers information about you and your family and genetic information from lab reports. They also collect medical history information on behavior, communication, motor skills, And more information is also collected through surveys assigned on your dashboard. And for those that are already signed up, thank you. But please remember to log on and check your dashboards to update your medical information and participate in any surveys. Every quarter, Simon Searchlight publishes a registry report filled with statistics about the OCNDS community that has registered for Simon Searchlight. They talk about types of seizures, most common issues, average age of toileting, walking, talking. And as more and more families participate, we will be able to establish a standard of care for OCNDS, which currently there is not one. Care varies wildly from patient to patient. We have seen children living with OCNDS with severe speech delay or inability to speak who receive speech therapy once every 6 months, and others receive it 5 days a week. Several years ago, Dr. Chung issued a challenge to our community to have at least 200 families sign up for Simon Searchlight, which would enable her to write standard of care guidelines. This would be game changing. This would mean when a family was diagnosed, they would have instructions that their doctor could follow in helping them develop a program to provide the best interventions for their loved one with OCNDS. I ask you today to consider being one of these 200 game-changing families. We are living in a time where genetic conditions once thought to be untreatable are now being treated. OCNDS is part of this scientific revolution. I want to leave you with one visual. In the rare disease space, you will often hear families say, "We want a seat at the table," meaning they want to be part of setting research agenda priorities. You might also hear patient-centered research or the patient voice. But I want you to know, in the case of OCNDS, we built this table. We set this table and we invited others to join. We, every OCNDS family, are the driving force behind OCNDS research and progress. Our progress will only be as robust as our group effort. I see you. I am you. And I see the small and big acts of actions from families that are changing the landscape of OCNDS. And I want to thank you for participating in any way that you can. I now want to introduce you to Dr. Wendy Chung, who will discuss the findings from our Simon Searchlight Natural History Study.